So today I'm going to talk about my exchange. I went on a 3-month exchange in Quebec and it was a pretty incredible experience, but I was on my exchange during a global pandemic. We really didn't expect that to happen and everyone was kind of in a panic. Almost all of the other exchange students that were on the exchange with me, but in different parts of Quebec, a lot of them left, which is a respectable decision because at that point we thought that we didn't know if schools were going to go back, but we were pretty sure they weren't going to. All the French immersion students at my school have the opportunity to partake in this exchange, and there's a limit of 5 spots. I didn't know if I was ready to go away from home for 3 months because 3 months is kind of a long time. I was mostly excited to have this new experience. In early 2020, I found out who my exchange student was, and that is Simone. She was with a big family. It was just crazy. There are 4 kids in her family, and I'm an only child, so that's really cool that I had the experience to go to a big family, and she got to come live with me for 3 months as like an only child, but like we were kind of sisters. I found that really interesting that we got paired up together, especially since we have completely opposite families. We are also both figure skaters, so it was really great that I was able to skate there and she was able to skate here. So with my school goes in semesters. First semester is September to January, and then second semester is February to June. I worked really hard first semester. I had science, math, social studies, English. I think that was it. Yeah, I did that all for my grade 10 year first semester. I was really successful. I ended up getting really good grades in all those classes. This semester I have media art, French, and gym, and a spare block. So it's a really easy semester for me. I'm also doing Psychology 11 and English 11 online just for fun. I'm not really sure why I did that, just so I could have some stuff to do in Quebec and so I can get some extra credits. Overall, it was a good plan considering now coronavirus is a thing. When I first arrived, I was super excited. Simone's mom, Simone, and her little sister came, picked me up, but I was suddenly overwhelmed with the amount of French that everyone was speaking. I had a really good experience my first week, and honestly the entire exchange, but especially in the first week I felt really welcome. They're just amazing. Like now that I know them, they're just all my second family. Once I got to school, that's when things really started rolling. I met some of Simone's friends and, you know, I was just kind of getting used to hearing French, so I really didn't understand a lot of what the friends were saying because, you know, when they're talking with one another, it's kind of hard to follow, especially since they talk so fast. But when people were talking to me, it was mostly yes or no questions. Everyone at the school was super welcoming. I met a lot of the teachers, and a lot of the teachers were actually bilingual, so that was cool. It was a very small school. There was 200 people in the school. I didn't expect any exchange students, but I hear that from other experiences, there are normally exchange students at these schools, but I was the very first exchange student ever at this school. And I found that kind of cool. I was at school for probably a month. I knew I had to be confident going into school, and I had to really just put myself out there. That's kind of how I roll in new situations. There were times, especially just in my classes, where I was very shy. Like those are the times where I didn't really know what to say and I didn't know. But yeah, I think that improved as my exchange went along. I tried to smile a lot, like this, just so I seemed more welcoming, because after I got to know everyone, like a few people said that they were a bit intimidated by me. I don't think that, but I think it's just always good to smile, be happy, just so you seem kind of more welcoming, I guess. I made a group of friends fairly quickly. I hope I get to see them again. I only knew them for about a month and a half, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, but I have grown a love for them too. I hope I do see them again. I really don't think my experience would have been the same if I went to a different school or if I didn't meet the people I did. Yes, I did have my challenges at school. Not necessarily anyone's fault, but just being an English speaker in a French-speaking world, it was overwhelming. And especially being a new kid in school, I've realized how hard that can be. Everyone kind of knows the dynamic of everything, but when you're a new kid, it can be stressful. One thing I noticed about Quebec, and I think it's just this school in particular, but there might be others that do it differently, is that they have 15-minute breaks between classes, and their school runs from 9 till 4. And I'm not used to that because I normally have a 5-minute break between each class. And I find that in those 15-minute breaks, I felt like super self-conscious. I just really didn't know what to do in those breaks. But most of the time, you know, I had my group of friends, I had a few girls that I could always go to. I be a bit long because of that. So there's 5 classes and there's a 9-day rotation. So the classes I actually took there were French, math, library, gym, art. And I think that's it. I had some extra gym blocks because I love gym. Probably my favorite class. I am super competitive. Again, everyone was really accepting and tried to talk to me as best they could. Library block was to work on my online courses, psychology and English. So as time went on, I got a lot more comfortable with the family, and I would always ask them what certain expressions would mean. Figures of speech and just ways they would talk. I would always ask them, hey, what does this mean? And I think that was probably how I learned how to speak in a more Quebecois way, I guess. I'm not really sure how to say it. Asking questions was really the main reason why my French has improved so much. We played a lot of cards, so I learned a lot of card games. I also learned a lot about cooking from the mom, Rochelle. I love cooking now. I cook for my family now on a regular basis, and she actually gave me a cookbook of my favorite recipes I made there, so that was really sweet. I had the opportunity to go to Quebec City and a hockey game in Montreal. So in Quebec City, we went skiing, we went tubing, and we explored Quebec City. And I think that was it. It was really cold. I remember I actually had to trade boots with Simone's mom. Just in case you need to know, be smart about what you wear in Quebec because it is really cold. Like, they do not exaggerate. Those were the last experiences where we were kind of outside of my little town. And then I got the news that school was shutting down for 2 weeks, and we were under the impression that it would just be temporary. We really didn't think that coronavirus was going to turn into a global pandemic, but clearly we were wrong. At night, when we were all super excited, I got a text from my French teacher back in BC, and he was like, so you're probably gonna have to come home early. My heart stopped. I really didn't want to go. I was 6 weeks through my 3-month exchange, so I was just halfway. I ended up staying for the 3 months, so obviously I was relieved, but again, it was in quarantine. So for the remaining 6 weeks, I was in the house with the family. The experience was still incredible. I don't think I could have asked for a better experience. Even if I did go back to school after those 2 weeks, I don't think my exchange would have been the same. Overall, Quebec was an incredible experience. This family that I met will remain in my life for the rest of my life. I get along with everyone, and I found that my French improved so much while I was there. And it really changed my perspective on life because as an only child, I spend more time on technology or alone or just kind of with myself a lot more than I would have if I had a few more siblings. Now that I've seen a life would be with a huge family and then my quiet life here, I've kind of grown an appreciation for both lifestyles. With my French development, I know so much about the French language now, and that just made me want to speak French in the future more. Ask a lot of questions. Reach out to teachers in the school or just someone that you can trust to talk to in the school. Make a note of all of the words and figures of speech you learn on your exchange. And I think it's really important if you want to fully get immersed into that way of speaking. It's important to kind of talk the way they talk. Journal. I didn't journal and I kind of regret it. Really put yourself out there when you're at school. Really just live every day as if it's your last. Say yes to every experience that is offered to you, every social event, every project. Just have an open mind when you're out there. Don't be afraid to embarrass yourself, because I embarrass myself almost every day in Quebec. Take risks, talk to new people, just do everything and have no regrets, and don't overthink it. I found myself having a lot of confidence after this exchange because I had literally gone through every awkward experience I possibly could. Nothing could be as embarrassing as the way I acted there. So I think I'm done. I think we're done. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this wasn't too boring. I hope I answered a bunch of questions.